morning, everyone. Right, I'm just looking at my hair. My hair's gone wild. Good morning, everyone. So the future is coming to an end tonight. Right, let me get my camera to focus. Right, okay, we are good. So that we literally right now, as I'm doing this live stream, we have less than 24 hours before all hell's going to break loose. Now, obviously, I'm talking about the crisis in the Middle East. I'm talking about Trump's threats. As I understand it now, there's threats of nuclear weapons. Yes, no, I'm not making that up, guys. I'm now hearing there are threats of nuclear weapons. So it does look like whatever the future looked like in everybody's minds, that's going to end tonight. What do I mean by that? First of all, if you think this war was going to be over very quickly, then you're going to understand pretty soon that that future is not happening. It's done, it's over, it's finished, and it ain't coming back. If you think that the Iranians can call Donald Trump's bluff, then you guys will see that tonight as well, you know. So I think UK time, this is 11:45 UK time when this deadline ends. So whatever you think is coming in the future, just write it off. Just, you know, just draw a line under it and say, right, okay, as of tonight, call it midnight tonight, 11:45, everything, like, you are going to know that the new direction of the future will be in, you know, you'll see that direction. Let me just throw the nuclear threats up here because this is absolutely bonkers. Now, I think that, let's just throw this up. I'm not going to go, I may or may not go the direction. So this is what Donald Trump posted yesterday, like last night or whatever, whenever it was. The IRGC just stated. So for those of guys, if you're just joining and you don't know the backstory to this, like yesterday or whatever it was, Donald Trump said, well, 36 hours ago or something, Donald Trump said, open up the Strait of Hormuz or we're going to take out your energy supplies. The Iranians have said, right, okay, you go with the energy. We're going to take all the desalination plants out in Israel. And this is Donald Trump's response to this. The IRGC, which is basically the Iranian military, just stated that if we bomb Iran's power plants, they'll bomb these. I said, guys, I don't know if Donald Trump is watching me. He genuinely may be, or one of his advisors may be watching me. You know, and if you are, hi. And then reporting back to him. Because one of the things I said last night before this came out was, if I was the Iranians, I would just go straight for the Israeli desalination plants. And those of you guys who don't know what a desalination plant is, the Israelis get a lot of their water, well, most of their water. In fact, I would say all of a good, like, high percentage of their water from the sea, from the Mediterranean. They desalinate that, and then that's, you know, pumped out to people's, you know, for people to drink. And one of the things I said last night is, right, listen, guys, they're in a war. This is what happens in war. People try, you know, there's no such thing. There's no such thing as a nice war. You know, wars are dirty. They're dirty. There's no right and wrong. There's no rules. The only one rule is don't lose. So like I always say, guys, avoid wars at all costs. If you're in them, win them at all costs. And, you know, and I mean that, and that's what all sides have to do now. And for anyone who's thinking that this is going to be over soon, no way, Bob. So literally, after I said it, Donald Trump made this statement. He's saying that the Iranians are now saying they'll bomb desalination plants in the Gulf states. Do not do it. It would be a huge mistake. Majority of the people in the Gulf states rely on these desalination plants for their daily drinking water, which is true. The level of death and suffering caused would be comparable to that of weapons of mass destruction. We're talking about nuclear weapons here, guys. Just so everybody understands, we're talking about nuclear weapons. If the terrorist regime of Iran did it, we may have to respond with such weapons of our own. He's talking about nuclear weapons here. Like Donald Trump he's going King Jong-un. Is it King Jong-un? He's going North Korea. Trump's going North Korea. He is. He's going North Korea. We may have to respond with our own such weapons. You know, he's clearly pointing towards weapons of mass destruction. I pray I never have to do it, but if the lives of millions are at stake, I will not hesitate. He sounds like Robert De Niro on, you know, when is it Robert De Niro? Yeah, Robert De Niro when he meets Al Pacino on Heat and they're in that cafe. Well, I tell you, there's a flip side to that coin. If I see you and I got to take you down, I got to do it, and I will not hesitate, brother. That's what it sounds like to me. Al Pacino, sorry, not Robert De Niro. Thank you for your attention on this matter, DJT. Right, and the reason I've shared this one with you, I don't know if you guys can see the comments on the right-hand side by Dr. Disclosure. We just used, Trump just used the phrase weapons of mass destruction and said, I will not hesitate. 4 days ago, wow, it seems like a lifetime ago, right? 4 days ago, the US White House registered aliens.com. And he's putting these things together now. And look, guys, you can't not put these things together. I'm literally gonna sweep over this for now. I may come on this afternoon and do another live stream and put these things together. However, let's get on to the news, ladies and gentlemen, because it does look like we've got less than 48 hours to, less than 48 hours. Right. Let me, is the chat on? Yes, the chat's on. Right, guys, I'm gonna start with my opening monologue. I'm then gonna talk about the ambulances that have been set on fire in London. We're going to talk more about the Middle East, and then I'm just going to give everyone a reminder that the it's not finished. For the United Kingdom, the Ukraine war is still going to kick off at some point. I think it's going to be not this weekend, but the weekend after, 2nd, 3rd, potentially 4th of April. Anyhow, so Donald Trump made the announcement on his Truth Social on Saturday night, which is, I think it was 12 at night, quarter to 12 at night, UK time. All right. So, which basically ends tonight. I have just watched the Terminator, and like the beginning of the Terminator, you get that like ominous monologue, and that's what it feels like right now. So that's when you should have your clock set, ladies and gentlemen, because one of two things is going to happen. Either the Iranians are going to open the Strait of Hormuz. I don't think that's going to happen at all. Or the United States have now forced themselves into striking the power plants. If they strike the power plants, that forces the Iranians to strike the desalination plants. If they strike the desalination plants, that's forcing the Americans to use weapons of mass destruction. I'm just telling you guys what's out there. And we're in a stage of active combat now. You can't look weak in active combat, guys. You absolutely cannot look weak in active combat. Again, you shouldn't make threats you're not willing to follow through. Never. So that's literally where we are now. Trump's words were stark and uncompromising. This was his initial post, that if Iran doesn't fully open without threat the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours from this exact point, which elapses tonight, the United States will hit, the Iranian power plants. Again, we are stretching now into the 4th week of what we were told were limited military actions. The president, speaking from his Mar-a-Lago home in Florida over the weekend, framed it as an unnecessary step to end what he calls holding the world's energy supplies hostage, especially after claiming the military phase was largely won. Very difficult, it's going to be very difficult to see how anyone can back out of this now. Officials in the United States, including the ambassadors of the United Nations, backed the line over the weekend, describing power infrastructure as fair game. Iran's response was swift. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard declared on Monday, today, that if the United States do attack their power grid, Iran will completely close the Strait of Hormuz, escalating from the current disruption to a full-scale blockade. They escalated further and said a strike on Iranian power plants would mean desalination plants get taken to the candy shop. So that's where we are right now. And we are going to find out very soon whose bluff has been called, because somebody's bluff has to be called. I don't think the Iranians are going to open the Strait of Hormuz. Why would they? Listen, and everybody all of a sudden is an expert on the Strait of Hormuz. Everybody's an expert. They are. Everybody's an expert all of a sudden. We're going to find out pretty soon. So if you think things are bad now, don't worry. You'll be looking back and thinking, yeah, things weren't that. Can you guys remember? I remember in December, like at the end of the year, at the end of December, and people were saying to me, saying, Sean, what's coming next year? What's coming next year? I was saying, look, we are going to look back on 2025. We're going to look back on 2025 and think, yeah, it wasn't that bad, right? It wasn't that bad in 2025. So we don't have long, guys, okay? And whatever your image of the future was, it pretty much closes down. Right, now, there's been another incident in the United Kingdom. They're calling it hate crime. 4 ambulances set on fire in London in suspected anti-Semitic hate crime. Right, the first thing I was like a little bit confused about, like these ambulances, like there's a lot of people on the mainstream, and I listen, guys, I'll be honest, I don't know the answer to this, right? These are Jewish charity ambulances. Now, there's a lot of people on the mainstream saying, why do Jews have their own ambulances? And that wasn't my understanding of it. These were just ambulances funded by the Jewish community. Can somebody fact check me on that? Because I genuinely don't know. I genuinely don't know. Like, for example, when I used to work for and like various NGOs around the world, we would have our own ambulances. They weren't for us, they were for everyone, but they were just bought and funded by a certain country. So I don't know. Norwegian fishermen's. This is the Norwegian fisherman's ambulance funded by the Norwegian fishermen. So can somebody fact check me on that? Because I don't know where this. I don't know where this particular thing is. There's a lot of people saying, why do Jewish people have their own ambulances? But my understanding of it wasn't that. My understanding of it is that these are like charity ambulances paid for by the Jewish community. So I might be wrong. I don't think I am, but can somebody please fact check me and give me like the information on that? But we'll get into this, guys. Okay. So just after 1:40 a.m. This morning, London Fire Brigade was called to Highfield Road, where 4 ambulances belonging to Hazola Northwest, a volunteer Jewish community ambulance service, has been deliberately set ablaze. This was established back in 1979 and provides free rapid response emergency medical care, as I understand, to everyone, guys. Okay, that's what I understand it. I don't think that you phone 999. I don't think you phone 999 and it goes to the Jewish ambulance and they come out playing Jewish music, and if you're not Jewish, they just drive on. I don't think that happens. I may be wrong. Somebody please fact check me. However, these vehicles are they're a clear lifeline to the community. I don't know why anyone would destroy an ambulance. Seems kind of counterproductive as we're heading towards civil conflict. And if you guys want to look back through my previous videos, maybe like years ago when I used to do my videos from the cellar, I did a top 10 video, and I said emergency service vehicles are a massive target. They're a massive target because ambulances and fire engines mainly. Police, you won't tend to get people attacking police vehicles. Ambulances and fire engines, they're soft targets, and they are the type of target you would try to attack when you're trying to attack someone's infrastructure. When you're planning these attacks of sabotage or hate crime or whatever they are. You've got to look at your bang for your buck. You've got to look at your reward. It's like shopping, right? It's like shopping. You want to get the most for your money. So with that, with that cost is your risk assessment. So nobody is going to try and break into a special forces base and get into their armory. It's just not going to work. What are you going to achieve? Nothing. You're not going to get in. I mean, good luck. You're not going to get in. You're going to end up, best case scenario, you're going to end up in a very, very uncomfortable position for a long time while you're being held by the military for hours probably before they even phone the police. So you're not going to do it, right? However, then you look at the lower, the lower tier targets that you've got a high percentage chance of getting away with it. So ambulances, nobody attacks ambulances. Why? Because at some point you may have an accident and you may need an ambulance. Anyway, these fires, I've seen the pictures, guys. I'll share them with you in a minute. They were absolutely ferocious. As I understand it, there was oxygen cylinders that have exploded on back of it, sending shockwaves through the near neighborhood, shattering windows in a nearby block of flats. Waking residents up in absolute terror. Can you imagine if you live in that community? I'm assuming that's a Jewish community. You're hearing these explosions. Forced dozens of people to evacuate from their homes. Around 30 locals were taken to a temporary shelter. The Metropolitan Police have launched a full investigation and are treating this as an anti-Semitic hate crime. Superintendent Sarah Jackson, who leads policing in the area, they're not even allowed to call them anyway, whatever. She leads the policing. Confirmed officers are reviewing CCTV footage and are aware of online videos that appear to show 3 suspects dressed in black approaching one of the ambulances before setting it alight. At this early stage, police believe they are looking for 3 individuals. Right. If you guys remember back in, where was it? There's this new European Muslim Brotherhood, right? I can't remember what their name is, but there's a new Muslim Brotherhood now in the United Kingdom. It's like a little European gang. I think they did something similar is it Holland? I think they did something similar in Holland a couple of weeks ago. Keir Starmer's come out and he's condemned the incident as deeply shocking anti-Semitic arson attack, stressing that such hatred has no place in our society. Rabbi Ephraim Mervis described this as as the ambulance service as an extraordinary service whose sole mission is to protect life, and called for unity against this kind of intimidation. I never get why people attack emergency workers. I used to go out on the ambulance when I was in the military. We used to go out on the ambulances sometimes, I don't know, maybe once a year or something. I was never attacked, but they would tell me of when emergency workers get attacked. So I don't know why this is a thing. What this is clearly showing, right, is people say in the United Kingdom, Sean, are we going to get attacked? Could Iranian missiles be raining down on Britain? Yes, but will they? No. Why not? Well, why would you bother raining down missiles on Britain when you have asymmetric warfare? You have asymmetric teams already in that country. And to be fair, we're probably paying for them ourselves. Now, when I say that we are paying for our own subversion, I don't just mean, the initial thoughts everybody go through is we're paying for this with benefits, right? Because, a lot of these people come here and they don't work. A lot of these subverters do work. Now, the example I gave a while ago is imagine a council. I'm just going to use Birmingham Council, right, as a random one, because we all know Birmingham Council's run out of money. So imagine Birmingham Council, right? Birmingham, I can't even say it. Birmingham Council. Imagine if they were subverted, right, and they had pro-Islamist, pro-IRGC members in their local council at local level, right? Just wild conspiracy. Let's just pretend that. And let's just say that they are then using Birmingham Council's money and awarding contracts to people that are also pro-Iranian regime. Then any money from that service, goods or product, then goes back into the Iranian regime, right? So now you can understand how you can build up quite a lot of money, and that's all British taxpayers' money going to destroy ourselves. So yes, we're paying benefits to people who may or may not wish ill on people of the United Kingdom and the West in general, guys. You know, the West in general. Also, I would say there's a good amount of local councils that have been. Have you guys heard? Like, there's so many stories, right? Or so many stories. You know, this company got awarded this contract and we lost £100 million. Oh no! Oh no! It was a mistake. Where do you think that money's going, guys? How do you think they get awarded that contract in the first place? Because we've been infiltrated and there's vast amounts of subversion being absolutely pumped in us right now in the United Kingdom. I've just done 2 videos on, I don't know if I shared, I've just done 2 videos on TikTok. I don't know if you guys have seen them. I've literally just watched another, like, I don't know, let me know in the chat if you've seen this video. There's a video right now. I think it's just been released. It's released by the IRGC. By Iran, and it's got Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, and they're down on their knees and they're praying to Baal. And the video is the propaganda. The video is fantastic. Like, as a propaganda tool, you look at that video and you go, "Oh my God, yeah! Oh my God, yeah!" Oh. And there'll be people out there who can't see this for what it is. If you look at the rhythm, speech, and tempo of what they're saying and the wording, I might be wrong, but I would speculate that the same people that made that Baal video of Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu praying to Baal, honestly, go and watch the video. I'm not going to share it because I'll get done for copyright because of the music. Watch that video, right? It's brilliant. Like, it's well put together. It's a high quality AI, which is exactly the same. And I would say that is the exact same AI that produced Amelia. And if you guys remember when Amelia came out, you know, the blue-haired or purple-haired girl, it's sponsored propaganda, guys. And, you know, people need to be wise. You need to be streetwise about this. You need to understand what we're seeing, understand why. The amounts of attacks that we are having daily, and most people don't even know. Most people don't even know. There was this, is it Nick Buckley? I think his name might be Nick Buckley or Nick Berkeley or something. He did a video about Amelia, and I did like an reaction video to his reaction, if that makes sense. And this guy, Nick Buckley, MBE, he has no idea what he's looking at. He has no idea what he's looking at. And he was saying, he's saying, yeah, we've taken her back. We're now using Amelia against the government. And I'm like, no. The people don't understand the amounts of like propaganda that you are being fed 24/7. I only watched that, you know, that movie They Live. I only watched that like a couple of months ago. Like, you know, it was the back end of last year. What a fantastic movie. How well has that aged? Right. I've got a few more posts here. Let me just read these to you guys quickly. So also, with all this stuff that's happening, there's been word on the street that the and again, I don't know where this is coming from, but apparently the Russians have told the Israelis if they use a nuclear weapon on Iran, they're going to send a nuclear weapon to them. Look, guys, I will I'm going to stick with what I've always said about nuclear weapons. And I know that's, and I know that's a little bit wild. Until we see them being tested, until we see them being tested, I'm still not convinced nuclear weapons are going to be used. However, I may be wrong. I do. I may be wrong. We'll see what happens. We're going I guess we're going to find out pretty soon. Shabana Mahmood is now saying that she's going to offer an extra 500 million to France to stop the boats. Yeah. So the French are not stopping the boats, guys. And why would they? Why would the French bother? But we're going to give them another 500 million to not stop the boats. It's so ridiculous. I would stop the boats for 1 million a year. Hang on, I'm selling myself cheap. Call it 1.5 million a year. I would stop the boats for 1.5 million a year. It's ridiculous. You can't stop the boats with the police because the police don't want to stop the boats. All right. Can you imagine, like, sat in, like, being a French police officer? And look, guys, all these people commenting on these migrant camps and the problems in France, have they been there? I don't know. I went there. I drove through these migrant camps. I drove through the local towns. I drove through the countryside. I know what problems there are in northern France. Imagine you're a police officer in northern France, right? I don't know. Manuel, I don't even know French second name. Manuel Le Raven. Manuel Le Raven. You're a French police officer, Manuel Le Raven. And Manuel Le Raven, his job is to bring crime down and look after the local population, right? And the local population are phoning up, oh, there's people in my garden. Yeah, they just sat there. They're trying getting into my house. They tried to get in my car. I'm scared. Can you please come out and help me? And what the people, Manuel Le Raven, right? He notices that there is a direct correlation between the size of these migrant camps and the size of crime in the local area. Let's just say that happens, like, as a wild conspiracy. Let's pretend, right, when these migrant camps get bigger, crime goes up in that local area. So when the crime goes up, and you've got, Manuel's got all these people phoning him up, old people that are scared in the countryside, they're scared to leave their house because they don't want their house broken into and somebody living in it. They're scared to live in their house because they don't want their house broken into and then something happening to them. They're living in terror. And then the local French police see, hundreds of them getting in rubber dinghies and leaving to the United Kingdom. What do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to say, stop, come back, because the British government have given the French government another 500 million? Do you think they're going to say that? The police on the ground are not getting any extra. The police you need to capitalize this, right? You need to you need to pay people you need to pay French, French gigantos or something. I don't know what the French word would be. You need to pay the French and say, right, every one of these migrants you get and you take back to this country, we will pay you for that. And that's how you get the money, right? That's how you get the bang for the buck. Unfortunately, guys, we can give the French 500 million. We can give them 1 billion. We can give them 1 trillion. They ain't going to stop the boats. Why are the French police officers that are getting paid no more, why are they going to stop the boats? They're not. It's so absurd. My solution to stopping the boats is you form an NGO in northern France, Christians for Calais, Britain, Northern Cali Dover, Northern Cali Kent Alliance. I don't know, whatever. It doesn't really matter the name. Something, whatever. And you can do this as an NGO. The outline of your NGO is to provide security and monitoring to the people of northern France. You have a website set up and you let, you go out every day and you let people know what's happening, taking pictures, live feeds, live streams, maybe a little van driving around with a live camera on it, so people know what's happening, right? As a counter to that, what you also do is you patrol the beaches, to clear the, as an environmental, and you pick up any litter. Good, we were all picking litter up. Any rubber dinghies, any outboard motors, any jerry cans full of fuel, you get rid of them. That's how you stop the boats, guys. The government giving more money to France, not going to work. These guys, Danny Tomo and what have you, going out there. I said to everyone, didn't I? I said, yeah, they're either going to get arrested or they're going to get banned from the country. Guess what? Yeah, both. They got arrested and banned out the country. You need to do things like you need to do things legally, and there's plenty of framework. There's plenty of framework to do a lot of stuff within the law, guys. There is. People just don't know how to use it. People really don't know how to use NGOs. They don't know how to use, their rights. Everybody wants this. Like with migration, everybody wants this. Yeah, we're gonna have a 1 million man march, and we're all, oh yeah, we showed the government. Yeah, what did you achieve, guys? Look, guys, and I'm not taking anything away to these big marches, these big marches that are organized in London, and you get 100 million people. I think it's fantastic. It shows unity, right? What does that achieve? Like, can anyone tell me, like, those people that went down to those marches in London? I know I'm going off on a massive side quest, guys. I'll jump onto the chat in a second. I'm just conscious of that. Those people who went down to London last summer, and Elon Musk was on the screen. I missed that. I went into the house. And Elon Musk was on the screen, and, have things got better or worse since that day? I would say they've got exponentially worse. So what did that march achieve? I would argue that march achieved nothing apart from those people spending a lot of their own money. Now, if they'd have given me that money, and look, I don't really have the time or energy to do this, but if they'd have given me the money, that money, let's just say there was, like, they said there was 1 million people. I think they said there was 3 million people turn up, right? So if all those people gave me, like, 50 pence, I'd have stopped the boats for a year. So going to London, train, fuel, transport, hotels, beers, restaurants. How much do you think those people spent, those 3 million people? Do you think they spent more than 50 pence each? I would say they did. But if they all chipped in 50 pence, I could have literally stopped the boats for like a year. I'd have stopped the boats for a year, and I would have had a good margin on that as well. Right, let me jump onto the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Let me jump on. Good morning, everyone. Right, I'm literally just jumping on the chat now, guys, okay? James Brooke is saying, the Sun is saying Trump could topple Iran with a small ground force. Don't encourage him. It took 300,000 troops to topple Iraq. Yeah. I think this is how they're going to get boots on the ground, guys. I really do. I don't see any way that they don't have boots on the ground right now in Iran. It's just, it doesn't. You have to have boots on the ground, guys. You really do. Caveman is saying a lot of people don't understand the third temple is not in Israel. It's in the United States and being built right now. Right, I don't know it. Right, listen, okay, right. Okay, I'm not as versed as this as I should be. My understanding of this third temple, right, is that it's right now the Alaska Mosque in Jerusalem is where the third temple should be. So if I understand my law and my religious, my religious context, right, there needs to be a red heifer burnt, and then the ashes of the red heifer then need to like go in the foundations or something of that of that temple. I think that's where I am. I might be wrong on that. Right, I'm just jumping to the bottom, guys, so I do apologize if I'm missing anyone's. The caveman is saying people must understand 250 years nothing was built there, was built at the White House. Now all of a sudden, ballroom, there's your temple. Do you know what? Do you know what? I will say, I'll be honest with you. I have not considered that, but that is something I'm definitely like, I've not thought about that. I agree. Okay. Let me play devil's advocate here. Quite literally, I might be playing devil's advocate, right? Or Antichrist advocate. The ballroom in the United States, like when in the White House, when they were having a party or something, they put a tent up. Now, that doesn't really sound very statesman-like, does it? Oh, let's go to the White House tent. So on one side, you know, I will take that. But then on the other side, let me just get this up on good guys. Just you're gonna want this, okay? Right. I'm listen, guys, I'm going to try and do something now, right? Please bear with me now for the next couple of, just bear with me. Right, so I'm on Google Maps now. In fact, hang on. Sorry, guys, let me change this. Right, I'm going to do something here. I don't know if I've done this before. Right, there. Right. Give me a second. Right. So I'm on Google Maps now. Right, I'm on Google Maps now. Right, there you've got the White House, right? So you've got the White House. Now, I'm just going to scroll out and tell me when you see it. Tell me when you see it, guys. Because when you see it, you can't unsee it. Can you see it? Can you guys see it? Can you guys see the five-sided square? Can you guys see the five-pointed with the roads? Can you guys see the five-pointed star with the White House at the bottom? Can you guys see it? I don't know if, I found this on, I noticed this in real time. You've literally got a five-pointed star in the middle of Washington, D.C., and the White House is right there at the middle, like at the bottom. So if you guys look at, let me zoom in a little bit, actually. So if you I don't know if you guys can see that there, Logan Circle. That's one of the points at the top of the star. Dew Point Circle. That's the other point. You've got the White House at the bottom. Then you've got this roundabout here. I don't know what this roundabout's called. George Washington University Hospital. And then you've got, where has it got? You've got this one here, Mount Vernon Square. So you literally have this five-pointed, this five-pointed star right in the middle of Washington, D.C., with the White House in the most prominent, with the White House in the most prominent place. I don't know, guys. I don't know. RA Redacted is saying that the third temple is the end times. This event is known as the Abomination of Desolation. Right, listen. Okay. Elisa Brittany is saying the Washington, D.C. is a pentagram. Right, listen, guys, let's jump back on track. Because we're going on a side quest, which is fine. There's going to be a severe crisis. I will jump back onto that in a second. So the future, your future, whatever future you guys thought you had, may or may not have in front of you, that's pretty much over now. And it all ends tonight. Literally 11 11:44, I think it actually was 11:44 tonight. So 23:44 tonight. It's literally Judgment Day, guys. That's when the crescendo happens. Like that's when it all happens, guys. Okay, so you literally have today to get ready. Now, I've seen Silly Gallardi on here. I know she's from, I don't know where she is. She's about somewhere. She's about on the chat somewhere. One of the things that I would recommend massively that everyone does, especially if you live in the Middle East, like get yourself as much bottled water as you can. Like really, like get yourself as much bottled water as you can, because we're in a hot war now. Well, I mean, we're not in the United Kingdom, but we will be soon. So I think people in the United Kingdom need to understand that although we are not in a hot war now, we're going to be in a hot war very soon. And all this stuff that's happening in the Middle East, you know, they're just going to have to deal with that themselves, because we're going to be fighting the Russians in Ukraine. Now, tonight, we have this chain of events that could happen. This is the literal chain of events that could happen. And the reason I'm saying it could happen is because you can't make empty threats in a war, guys. You can't make empty threats in a war. So tonight, 11:45, the Strait of Hormuz is not open, right? So the Americans have now threatened the Iranians that they're going to take out all their power plants. They may or may not be able to do that. They can certainly try, right? They can certainly do some damage to some of them. So the Americans are going to go in, and the Israelis, they're going to start airstrikes on the power plants. In response, you know, the Iranians are then going to say, okay, right, we're going to attack all the desalination plants in the Middle East. We don't care. Like, and look, I'm pro-West. I'm pro-America. I'm pro GB. I'm pro law order. If I was living in Star Wars time, I would probably be part of the Empire. I would. I'd probably be part of the Empire with a sweet stormtrooper uniform on, and a blaster and one of those ships. Anyway, so the reason I'm saying this is because you can't back down now. The Iranians should absolutely attack the desalination plants. You know, they should absolutely attack those desalination plants, guys. Hang on. Now, once that happens, like if I was the Iranians right now, I wouldn't even wait for Donald Trump to attack. I would, and this may happen. If I was the Iranians right now, I would just say, well, what's the point in waiting? We're going to strike first, whatever. You know, this is war, guys, and you can't be surprised that people are being aggressive in a war. That's the name of the game, right? That's the name of the game. You need to be aggressive in war to win. Ultimately, I don't think the Iranians can win, but they're going to cause a lot of chaos and carnage, before they're finally defeated. The only way, and I keep saying this, the only way to defeat the Iranians, you need boots on the ground. You need men, like men, real men, to go into those places and to close everything down, blow everything up, go into those underground bunkers, go into the cave systems, destroy everything. That's the only, you can't do this from the air. You can degrade and diminish, but to destroy, to confirm that destruction, you need to be on the ground, guys. You literally need to be on the ground. And then what's stopping the Iranians from rebuilding it? Well, and another thing, we're on the Iran conflict, on the Iran conflict. I was expecting an uprising quick. I was expecting an uprising. That's not happened, which was a big miscalculation, right? Right. Top Scotty, hello, Top Scotty. Top Scotty is saying, when can we have an update on Ukraine? Okay, so the conflict in Ukraine, it's still raging on. The Ukrainians take more drone strikes than the Middle East do, like a week, definitely. The power grid's been destroyed. I feel like I'm watching the Terminator. The power, we destroyed their defense network. we'd won. Ukrainian power grid's destroyed. They get like 3 to 4 hours of electricity a day. The Russians are still pushing. I think that by next weekend, so like, and I keep saying this, so like this date, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of April, I don't know what's going to happen, right? It could be something in the Middle East, it could be something somewhere else, but that particular date for me is screaming out. It's absolutely screaming out, that date. One of the places I've located, I've identified through my sources on the ground in Kiev, they've been talking about this Estonian town called Narva. And do I have it up? I've done quite a few videos. If you want me to show you where Narva is on the map, let me know. There's a big propaganda campaign right now in Narva that Narva becomes independent and becomes part of Russia. So NATO Article 5, it's not worth the paper it's written on. Never has been. Never. Very soon that's going to be tore up and people are just going to understand that that NATO, it was just a good money-making scheme. That's all it ever was, guys. NATO was a good money-making scheme. Nothing more, nothing less. That's it. It was a good scam like everything else. So I think Ukraine will come back online next weekend. 4 Paws are saying like and share. Yeah, guys, listen. Can you guys like and share? I don't say this as enough as I do, as much as I should do. Can you please like, share my video with a friend, bring one of your friends along, say, hey, do you know what? Sean's online every morning at 10, every evening at 8. He tells us what's happening. He says things that are happening before they're happening. And when I do those videos and I say what's happening in the future, they never get as many views because it's not headline stuff. And people look for the headlines like Narva, Estonia. I'll scroll past that one. But when this happens, right, when people are when Narva kicks off in Estonia, you'll see all these people on the mainstream media, and all of a sudden they're experts now. They're all experts on Narva and Estonia, and they are, the Estonian People's Republic. And but yeah, thank you, 4 Paws. Where's Count Ducula when we need him? I don't know. I don't know what that means. Lisa is saying Al Jazeera report that the world energy in crisis will be worse than 1970s. Yes, it will be, ladies and gentlemen. It will be a lot worse. It will be a lot worse. Hang on. I thought you'd be a Yoda or a Han. Yeah, I'll go with Han Solo, actually. He's pretty cool. Han Solo's pretty cool, right? Yeah, I'll go with a Han Solo character. Paul is saying we got William, I don't know what that means, William Tyndale. We got a William Tyndale New Testament original Old to English translation, probably the most important book before the Reformation. Can you give me more context? Right, I'm just jumping down to the bottom, guys. Googleinos. Good morning, Googleinos. Is this your first comment? Googleinos is saying, Sean, do you see schools and non-essential emergency buildings being to close earlier when we start having energy crises? Yeah, I do see that. So I think they will try and keep schools open as long as possible. So like I would say schools are essential, essential buildings. However, they're not that essential, right? So yesterday I gave the Raven maths. I did some, you guys love Raven maths, don't you? My little girl, our eldest, she always gets annoyed with my Raven maths because I work it out really quick in my head and I give estimate brackets. I do it fast with estimate brackets rather than it takes forever. And like, you can never do real world maths like 100%. And she gets really annoyed how quickly I do it. Anyway, so yesterday I was doing Raven maths for you guys. And I said, right, okay. I think it was last night, actually. The United Kingdom import 47.2% of their natural gas, and that natural gas goes to turbines and it creates electricity, right? 47.2, I think it was. We'll call it 50%, right, for Raven maths, right? So what I speculated is, right, okay, if we use 50% imports on gas, we need to understand, people need to accept that we're not going to get those imports. Just, they're done. We ain't getting them no more. Why? Because this is a global crisis now. And all the other countries are going to be screaming for gas as well. So we're not going to get those, inputs. So what I said is, right, if we're getting 50% less energy coming in, that means that we're going to have our electricity for 50% less of the time. And if we have it for 100% of the time, which is 24 hours, 12 hours is half of 24, right? So I said, right, okay, so what we need to do is we're going to get our energy cut by 50%, right? So we're going to have 12 hours rolling blackouts. I don't know what time it'll be. However, then we said, okay, but emergency buildings, critical infrastructure, that needs to stay online. So I'm talking about hospitals, emergency services, your fire engines, your ambulances, your police stations, you know, nuclear reactors, all the military, all those things need to keep energy, right? So energy gets diverted to those. So that brings everybody's energy. So I said we will probably be at a stage soon where we have 6 hours electricity a day. I know that sounds wild, but in Ukraine, right, the Ukrainians were huge net exporters of energy. Like, they've got loads of nuclear. They love the nuclear power in Ukraine. However, they're on like 3, maybe 4 hours of electricity a day. So what people do is when the electricity comes on, they try and charge as many batteries as they can, and then the electricity goes off. It's grim, guys. It's grim. I'm just going to jump right. Oh, hang on a minute. Lisa Jane is saying 50 minutes ago, the Independent, Tehran threatens to lay sea mines. Yeah, it's guys, there's no off ramp. There's no off ramp. All right. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. Black Pill is saying the war in Ukraine has a possibility to stop in April. When the snow melts, you get mud everywhere. Nothing moves. Nothing wants. Yeah. So you get April. So you get those wet months. So you get like, but then in the summer, it starts to dry out, right? And ground become very hard, very strong, like rock. Right. I'm literally just scrolling down to the bottom, guys. I'm literally just going to jump to the bottom. Hang on, I just saw right, I know, right. Right, give me a second, guys. I saw somebody's comment then. And it's vanished. Somebody just commented, and I read the comment. There we are. Four Paws is saying, Sean, will the migrants be given food and fuel before us? Do you know what? I was thinking about this. I think so. Yeah, I think so. Hear me out. Migrant hotels, they don't pay for their food, right? So we are obliged to give them 3 meals a day. So that money just comes from the taxes, right? With the fuel, one thing that could happen is the price of fuel could go up so exponentially high. It's unaffordable, right? Like you don't want to turn you've got a little light on and it's costing like 10 quid an hour. But you pay for that yourselves, right? And the migrants don't pay for their energy. That comes out of a government invoice at the end of the month, right? So Four Paws is asking a question. Will migrants be given fuel and food before us? Yes, because it's contracted to do so. The government, right? The government in the United Kingdom are not contracted to give me 3 meals a day. I wouldn't eat 3 meals a day either. Like, I think it's absolute glutton. But the government are contracted to provide 3 meals a day for migrants, right? So the government are not contracted to, you know, to pay or to they're contracted to give them food, right? And the cost's not in that, right? With the electricity as well, I think the government will just keep paying the electricity bills for the migrants. That's what I think will happen. So, do you know what's a really sad thing? I saw a video, like in the winter, I saw this video. I'll come back onto Iran in a second. I saw this video in the winter, in the winter, and there was these 2 guys, or maybe it was one guy. I think it was one guy, actually. It was one guy. There was this guy in a sleeping bag in the doorway of a migrant hotel. And it was one of these guys, like an auditor, and he was talking to him. And as he was talking to him, some of the migrants came in and stepped over the guy who was in the sleeping bag. Yeah, that's where we are. That's where we are, guys. So, yes, I do think that's going to happen. Right, I'm jumping down to the bottom. Right, let's jump back on track because it's interesting that Trump seems to have the support of Democrats and Republicans for this war. They're all making a ton of money. Everybody's making a ton of money. Google Ian is saying Bank of England will raise the cost of borrowing. Wow. So that's to try and fight inflation, but it's not going to happen. And Sean Pearsons is saying, we get ripped every time. You're right, mate, we do. Dee Marie is saying, Sean, what about the influx of people from the Middle East to Europe, UK? What do you predict there? Well, we've already seen. I think like on the 28th, like after the first bomb dropped, there was like thousands. Well, I don't know. I think there was hundreds at least of Iranian refugees already made their way into France. We're here. We're ready to come over. That's going to continue. The migrant crisis is only going to get worse, guys. It really is. We need to stop thinking and just accept. Hang on, I've got this. Give me a sec. Is it that one? Yeah. We just need to accept that we are being destroyed as a country. Shabina Mahmoud set to offer France an extra 500 million to stop the boats, but demands more bang for her buck. Never going to happen. They don't know. You can't keep like. Imagine the Israelis, right? They're asking the Iranians not to build a nuclear weapon, and the Iranians say, "Okay, we'll not build one if you give us some money." And then they keep building a nuclear weapon, and they say, "Oh, Iran, we asked you not to build a nuclear weapon. Can I just ask why you're building it?" "Yeah, you didn't give us enough money." "Oh, okay. How much more money do you want?" 500 million. "Okay." You give them 500 million. "Oh, Iran, where did that 500 million go?" "Yeah, you've not given us enough money. We need more money." You can't keep throwing money at these problems. And you know what? I would have a policy not to throw 1 penny at these problems. And if you guys want to understand, that things are constantly getting worse in the United Kingdom, all you have to do is look at the South Coast. Literally, look at the South Coast. If we manage to stop the boats, and I know that, look, guys, I've said this loads of times, okay? When I'm doing my analysis, right, and I'm looking at things, if you can't figure out what's happening, you need to go back a level, right? You need to keep going back a level until you can find a definitive answer. like a yes, no, right? That is definitely going to happen, right? Okay, good. Then you can work from that and like, you know, do your like spider diagrams or like Venn diagrams or whatever. Excuse me. So as a visual metric that everybody can see, because we've all got mobile phones and access to the internet for now anyway. If we see the boats being stopped, then there may be a chance that we can restore some pride, not be a global laughingstock, and actually be who we were born to be on this island, which I think is the greatest nation, you know, in the planet. That's why they're trying to destroy us. But if those boats keep coming and keep coming, then we're going down the hill, right? When those boats, and I know the problems are a lot bigger than this, right? I know there's legal migration. I know there's subversion. I know our councils have been infiltrated. I know we've been, you know, colonized in many parts of the United Kingdom. I understand that, and I understand the problems are a lot wider and deeper than being able to stop a couple of rubber dinghies every day. But if you can't do that, what hope do you have of doing anything else? So like as a visual metric, as a visual measure, when you wake up in the morning, look out the window, right, have the boat stopped? No, right, things are getting worse today. Right, have the boat stopped? No, right, okay, things are getting worse. And you just need to accept that. You really do, because there's nothing I can do. I can tell you guys how to stop the boats. I need 1.5 million a year and I'll go over to France. Do you know what? I would do that. 1.5 million a year. Give me 1.5 million. I will stop the boats for 1 year. Done. But you need to accept that's not going to happen. You need to accept that the government are just going to keep giving people money and keep giving people money and money. Like I heard this thing, you know, the 40, like, you know how we're paying migrants now £40,000 to leave? So what Shabina Mahmood, she went over to Denmark and she did this big thing and she was saying like, oh yeah, you know, the Denmark have stopped, you know, they've stopped migrants coming and they're having great success because of this. No, she's totally gaslighting you. Do you know how the Danish managed to bring their migration down? They stopped giving them free shit. Yeah, they stopped giving them free shit and they said, right, okay, we're not going to give you free shit, but we will give you money to go. And if you come back, there's no free stuff, but you can go. That's how the Danish did it. So, but here in the United Kingdom, we're still giving people free shit, and we're now giving people more. So in Denmark, when you go to, like, if you've been deported from Denmark under this scheme or whatever, and you go back to Denmark, you don't get free hotels, you don't get free food, you don't get free anything. That's how they did it, right? In Denmark. They just said, yeah, no more free shit. We're done. You ain't getting no more free stuff. And guess what? They stopped coming because they want their free stuff. I want a bit of free. Where's my free stuff? However, here in the United Kingdom, we have a situation where if you come as a migrant and you're rejected, you get 40 grand to leave. If you then leave and you think, you know what? I actually want to go back. Yeah, no, it was a wrong decision for me. Yeah, my circumstances have changed now. I do want to go back to the United Kingdom and try my asylum case again. You can get on a boat, you can come back, you'll be put in a hotel, you'll be given 3 meals a day, free money, get a little job on the side, and you've got 40 grand in the bank. It's a good business opportunity. Right, listen, I am going to start to close this live stream down. I am, guys. I'm going to start to close this live stream down. Dude named Brent is saying, once upon a time, England was an empire, possibly the greatest navy ever to set the seas. Now France has to protect you in the Mediterranean. What happened and how? Well, we voted for it. We were defeated by victory. Victory defeated us. Victory has defeated Britain. I'll tell you exactly what happened. After the Second World War, And all you Gen Xers, you might want to leave now because I'm gonna come after the Gen Xers. Not all, but the generationally, right? Like a brief generation. So you have the war generation. They won the war, right? They came back. You know, we showed those Germans. We showed those Germans. You know what real British engineering was. Then they had children. So the war generation had children, right? And they were they're like the war babies. They were the boomers, right? So the war babies, they were the boomers. They grew up in utopia because their parents created a utopia for them. So they grew up with all the opportunities, and again, it wasn't easy for everyone, but there was more opportunities back then, in the 50s, right? In the 50s, there were more opportunities, everybody says, because of the war generation. And then those boomers had children who are the Gen Xers, right? And those Gen Xers, because their mums and dads were rich, you know, they were wealthy, everything was awesome. They never saw fear. They never saw threat. They never saw danger. They never saw Islamist terrorism. They never saw African migrants doing things in gangs to young girls. They never saw this. So they grew up, and when they were 40, when they were in the 40s, they were in positions of charge. So they were letting everyone in. They were like, yeah, if you come to Britain, come to Britain, come to Britain. And then you've got the millennials who are watching all this kind of in the middle of everything. But then now you have the new generation of kids growing up. And they're like the kids who are growing up now, when they're in their 40s, everything will be strong. They will have a new generation of kids, and that cycle will repeat. This program is saying, I call BS because if you were in the UK, you'd be arrested for free speech. Sorry, I may have missed. I may have missed your last comment. Let me hang on. Hang on. Right, I don't know what you're in reference to, mate. I don't know what that's in reference to. Dave Dutch is saying, when they roll out digital control grid, they'll sell it as the only way to manage the chaos. Yeah, you're right. You're right. They're created. The migrants are the tool. The grid is the goal. Right, Google Linux is trying to make me laugh here because we were talking the other day about midget submarines, which is an actual thing. The Iranians have midget submarines. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close this down now. I'll be back on this evening 100%. I'll be back on this evening at 8 o'clock. I'll try and get on in the afternoon and do another live stream. But upon that, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you good morning. Get your clock set for tonight at 11:44, 23:44 actually, 23:44. You've literally got like 12 hours. Like, what is it? What time is it? 6 minutes past. So you've got like 12 hours. Call it like 11. And you've literally got 11 and a half hours, guys. You need like 11 and a half hours, right? Before this whole crescendo comes down. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I will catch you guys later.